Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're going to level up our understanding of predictive models. We're moving beyond a single cause and effect and into the much more interesting and much more realistic picture of how the world actually works. So let's just dive right in with a big question. How do you predict an outcome when, let's be real, there's almost always more than one thing causing it? To get our heads around that, let's start with a quick refresher on a simpler model, one that only looks at a single factor.
Because that's the whole point, right? One explanation just rarely cuts it. You've probably seen simple linear regression before. It's that classic model that connects one single input to one single outcome.
For example, we could try to predict how much time a user spends on a website using just one piece of information: how many friends they have. In this little equation, the model predicts the minutes by starting with a baseline amount, that's our alpha, and then it adds a certain amount, that's our beta, for every single friend the user has.
But that feels a little incomplete, doesn't it? I mean, you can probably think of a dozen other things that might play a role. What about how many hours they work? Or maybe their education level has an impact. Sticking with just one variable, well, it often gives us a pretty biased or just plain incomplete picture of what's really going on. So that brings us to the next logical step. We need to build a better model, one that can handle multiple inputs all at the same time. Let's see how we can add more variables to the equation to paint that fuller, more accurate picture.
And this is how we do it, with something called multiple linear regression. Now, I know this formula might look a little intimidating at first glance, but it's really just a straightforward expansion of that simple model we just saw. We're still predicting one outcome, y, but now we're doing it by adding up the effects of lots of different inputs, x1, x2, and so on. And each one gets its own special weight, its own beta.
So how do we organize the data for this? Well, if you're familiar with databases, or even just spreadsheets, this table should look pretty comfortable. You can think of each row as a different user, and each column as a different feature or piece of information we have about them, like their number of friends, their work hours, or whether or not they have a PhD.
Okay, but wait a second. That has a PhD column brings up a really interesting question. It's a yes or no answer, right? It's not a number like 49 friends, so how on earth does a math equation handle a categorical feature like that?
The solution is actually pretty clever and simple. We create something called a dummy variable. Think of it like a light switch. We just set it to 0 for no and 1 for yes. And boom, just like that, we've turned our category into a number that the model can totally understand and work with.
All right, so now that we know how to actually build the model, we need to talk about the rules of the road. There are some really important assumptions we have to follow to make sure our results are trustworthy and not just, well, garbage.
And you might be wondering, what happens if we just ignore these rules? Well, we could get some seriously misleading answers. Now, there are a few assumptions for a really robust model, but we're going to focus on two that are absolutely critical. The first rule is what we call linear independence. Put simply, this just means your inputs can't be redundant. You can't have one column that's just a simple combination of another. The most obvious and problematic example would be just including the exact same data twice under different names. Like if you had a column for num friends and another one called num acquaintances, that was literally just a copy. The model would have no idea how to assign credit because the information is totally redundant. The second rule is a little more subtle. It's about making sure our inputs aren't secretly correlated with the errors. That sounds technical, but it really boils down to this. We have to be careful about hidden factors that can systematically throw off our results. Let's walk through an example to make this crystal clear. Okay, imagine this scenario. People who have more friends also happen to be the same people who tend to work longer hours. And it makes sense that people who work more hours have less free time to spend on our website. Now, if our model only looks at the number of friends and completely ignores work hours, it's going to get confused. It's going to see more friends and less time on site happening together and might wrongly conclude that friends are a bad thing for engagement. The real cause, the work hours, is hidden, and that biases our entire result. So, let's say we've built our model, we've checked our assumptions, and everything looks good. Now we get to the fun part, the payoff. We finally get to figure out what the results are actually telling us. What do those beta coefficients really mean?
This is the absolute key to interpreting multiple regression. Each coefficient tells you how much the outcome changes for a 1-unit increase in that specific input with one massive condition. We have to assume that all the other inputs are held constant. People call this the all else being equal principle, and it is everything.
Let's make this real with our num_friends variable. Imagine our model spits out a coefficient of 0.75 for the number of friends. What does that actually mean?
It means that for every single additional friend a user has, we predict they will spend an extra 0.75 minutes, so 45 seconds, on the site per day. But here's the crucial part. That's only true if their work hours and their PhD status stay exactly the same, all else being equal. See how that works?
Okay, so what about a negative number? Let's say we get a coefficient for daily work hours of negative 1.2.
It's the exact same logic. This means for each additional hour a person works per day, we predict they'll spend 1.2 times fewer minutes on the site. And again, this is always under the assumption that their number of friends and PhD status don't change. Each factor is interpreted independently.
So let's wrap up with the main takeaways here. Multiple regression is an incredibly powerful tool that lets us model complex situations where there's more than one cause. We can even bring in non-numeric categorical data by using those clever dummy variables. But we have to remember to check those key assumptions to avoid getting misleading results. And when we read the output, the most important thing to remember is that every coefficient has to be interpreted as an all else being equal effect.
Honestly, this way of thinking gives you a powerful new lens to look at the world. It lets you go beyond simple questions and start exploring the rich, complex relationships in whatever data you're looking at. So the real question for you is, what complex relationships are you going to uncover?
If you found this useful, we'd love it if you'd like, share, and subscribe for more explainers just like this one. Thanks so much for watching.